Appadurai A from HP Indigo and Inkjet Business Solutions visited the PrintWeek Studio. During his visit, he discussed the advancements in digital labels and packaging, photo albums, and the future of book printing. Appadurai also provided insights into the 8 innovative products that the company will be showcasing at its hall in Drupa.
So welcome to the PrintWeek Studio. We have a wonderful guest today with us, the boss at HP Indigo in India, A. Appadurai, who is the country manager, been with HP for almost 2 decades. Somebody who is known not to have taken a single holiday during these 18 years, which is a stupendous record. So as indefatigable as the presses that HP Indigo runs. What we're going to do with Durai, as he's known as, is have a conversation about Indigo in India and what the plans are for Drupa, which is around the corner. So first and foremost, Vanakkam, sir. I know you've, this has been difficult to get hold of you. You're probably, as they say, as we are in election season, and you're probably traveling as much as some of our political bigwigs across the country. So first question for you is, what is keeping you so busy? And if you can just paint a picture for us, what keeps Durai so busy or has been keeping you busy for the last quarter or so?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me here.
Sure.
It's an absolute privilege, one, to be in PrintWeek, and two, to be with a group of friends which I know for a very, very long time.
That's true. Yeah.
What keeps us busy? Obviously, my people keep me busy. Every time when somebody asks me to introduce you, you call me the boss of Indigo. No, my only job is to take care of one of the finest people that we have in the industry, product specialists, customer success managers. We have a very small team, but a passionate team, and my job is to take care of them. They keep me busy all the time, meeting customers, meeting brands, meeting press, and the sheer passion that we have in terms of doing it. It's actually, it goes beyond selling presses and technology. I think we're very passionate about creating successful customers. And when you see an entrepreneur becoming successful because he invested, by the way, on your technology, I think that kick, there is nothing which can replace that kick. That keeps us busy, that keeps us awake in the night, and that keeps us on the toe all the time.
So again, just a couple of things which I think are interesting, because I was sort of tracking some of, as part of this preparation, homework, due diligence. So I was looking at some of the phrases HP Indigo has been using for the Drupa preview, and there are 3 which sort of were fascinating. One was trailblazing, the second was unstoppable, and the third was dawn of digital, which I thought was kind of interesting because it took me straight back to 95 or thereabouts. I think it was PrintPack or Pamex, one of the big shows, and there was Benny Landa and Pranav Parekh, and and they use the same expression, dawn of digital. And so my first question to you really is, why dawn of digital? Because we felt that digital had arrived at 95 and in 95, and everything that was to go digital did go digital, etc. So has that happened? Number one, that dream that was sort of set in 95, and are you satisfied with what you have done and what India has done as a territory in these last 3 decades or so?
Look, this dawn of digital, I'm not a guy, because I'm an Indian, I don't believe in a lot of, self-thumping of the chest.
Right.
I would rather put, for me, the most catchy line that we used, and which is also true, is whatever we imagined has become a reality. Right?
That's quite nice.
In the products, what we imagined, what we said, it's all become a reality.
That's true.
And I think that's what really, differentiates us from a lot of other people in the market. Everything which we've imagined has become a reality. When it comes to, are we happy with the progress? Certainly, yes. We've been able to transform certain segments of the market. Some segments of the market is taking a little more time, but I think living in a country like India, if you ask the same question to my counterpart in Germany or in the US, there could be different answers, because these are developed markets where manpower costs are so high. In a country like India, where the cost structures are way too different, way too different. 90% of your offset market is still the used press market.
True.
I think that's where, if I tell this internally to my people, if you can sell digital presses, that to Indigo presses in India, you can sell presses in any part of the world, because you're operating in an environment which is the toughest, but we are super happy with the progress that we are making. Today our packaging business, the kind of growth that we're seeing in the packaging business, we cannot complain at all. So overall, we are super happy, but we have a very, very, very long way to go in front of us.
Sure.
And the market and the changes in the market will help us to make the whole thing better.
Yep, yep. Again, interesting. I'm going to sort of flash back into, I think, 5 conversations we've had prior to this, because there's always text and there's pre-text, like you have press and pre-press. So I think one of the first conversations that we had post-COVID was where I think you crunched some numbers for us. And that was a kind of interesting, because you looked at the big picture, which was the GDP. And then, of course, the trickle down. This was, I think, about 24 months ago. And so again, I sort of bounce the question back at you. Is the GDP growth going as per what the government is suggesting? But more importantly, is the trickle down being as potent as some of us in the industry thought, and how much of it would be impacting not just HP Indigo, but the overall sort of business sense that you're getting from across the country? Since you've been traveling, you're meeting customers, you're getting a sense of what people's balance sheets are, etc. What is the sense that you're getting now from some of your customers, and of course the numbers that they are crunching?
Yeah, so I think one, I'm no macroeconomist here.
Right.
I'm very limited in my world of
Yeah.
digital printers.
Right.
But I think the data which we hear from all
Sure.
our customers is so encouraging
Yep.
that nobody can take away the fact that India is growing, and India is growing the fastest among any part of the world
Sure,
that way.
sure.
Which is basically attracting, they say money brings money. A growth mindset also brings actual growth
Yep.
in reality, which we
Yep.
see this from a sentiment perspective. India is killing it.
Sure.
The marketing for those guys on the GDP front is super high.
Sure.
And a lot of this is translating into reality as well.
Yeah.
Now, given this fact that GDP is growing and income levels are growing, so does the taste of people, right? I mean,
course.
You're not going to stick to that one box which you were always sticking to, and that's where we see categories that did not exist at all before is become a category by itself now. I can give you 3 unrelated examples. One, pet care in India, right? And today the cost of maintaining a pet, I was reading a recent article, is about $12,000, and people have no complaints to spend $12,000 every month to maintain the pet, because pet is no longer an animal, it's part of the family. That's a big trend that people have seen. Today, I went to a place called Latur in Maharashtra to one of my colleagues' ancestral home, and his childhood friend is having the whey protein, the supplements that a guy in Bombay has. So I don't think there is a differentiation in terms of consumption of product. Whey proteins or supplements are consumed even in villages in India.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
This is another big trend that I've seen.
Yep.
Third one, on the liquor market, Indian single malt. If you speak to the alcohol people, Indian single malt is a category by itself. Like how they have Scotch and have vodkas. Indian single malt has become a category by itself. These are manufacturers of India. Right? All of these are propelled by the extreme high value consumption that happens in the market, and this is something which we've seen. When I joined HP, I didn't see all of this, right? We were still fighting the common things, but today I think life is variety, and every time when variety comes, it propels growth in printing, and very specifically in the digital printing. So we have no complaints at all.
Nice. So one is what you're suggesting is, of course, household consumption increase. Second is this sort of much more taking cognizance of hygiene and health and that kind of thing. And third is premiumization, which seems to be taking. Again, I'll just sort of continue on this because what you've given is sort of painted a broad picture. But if you look at the industry, there have been other segments which have certainly flourished in the last 5 to 6 years: rigid box, paper bags, tissues, paper cups, etc. So again, from an HP Indigo perspective, especially in terms of ops in India, if you go down to the granular, what are typically the segments and sectors where you see that there is things that we can be bullish about? If you look at specific industries or specific applications within those industries,
I think one of the biggest segment which we're seeing I would say, extreme growth is the flexible packaging pouches. I think the number of food startups in India is just
Phenomenal, yeah.
phenomenally
Yeah,
high.
absolutely.
And we were actually looking at data of, we work very closely by the virtue of the job, we work very closely with organizations like Startup India, Atal Incubation Center and
Right,
stuff.
right.
Startup India has actually published data that there are 130,000 startups in India.
Yep.
Close to between 30 to 40% of them
Yep.
are in the food related or agro related startup space.
Sure,
For
sure.
me, all of these are translating into high quality packaging, and pouches is just killing all the other applications in terms of the growth ratio
Right.
itself. There's a lot of focus around the paperboard packaging as well,
Of course.
because the whole
Sustainability.
angle and plastic being made as singled out as a villain.
Yes.
Just by the perceptions. So much of importance is coming into the board packaging as well.
Yep.
We've seen other segments of the market growing as well. Like for example, tubes is laminate tubes is a business that significant growth, and again related to the progress that the cosmetic industry is making today. I think I wouldn't say exaggeration. A lot of women today who have their own recipe, which they possibly got it from their grandmother for the facial creams, is now becoming a business by itself. And we have people who are into the artisanal product range that's propelling a lot of growth in the cosmetics, and by the way into the tubes. So we see overall growth, but if you ask me one which stands out, pouches. It's just unbelievable for us right now.
Yeah. And I know you have an interesting story with that one, so you want to quickly share that with us?
so
because this is very fascinating.
This for me is fascinating, and it's very close to the heart. So this is a very small time, I would call it a shop, which sells dry fruits actually in a place called Washi. When we met him, and he had this simple polythene bag selling a product at $40, was happy because he was still making good margin.
Correct.
When we showed him the sample, he said, "Wow, this is exciting." And then he asked me, "What's the cost of the product?" When I told him the cost of the product, he didn't blink an eye. This is like 25% of the cost of the product inside which he's selling. But he actually took it. He said, "I'll take this. I'll take a chance." And when he had to give a brand or the design of the product, he didn't have a brand. He just said, "Can you make one?"
Right.
I said, "Look, I can make a design, that's no problem, but I cannot create a brand." He said, "Sir, Diwali is coming, put Happy Diwali in the pack." So we actually put Happy Diwali in the pack, and we gave him 500 pouches. And then within 3 weeks he comes back and he says, "Look, I sold all of them, and I sold it double the price. When I was selling it 40, now I'm selling it at 80, and I'm selling it at half the time." Right? So for me, this is like an eye-opening thing, right? Because people pick products based on how well it is packaged. And he's actually going and convincing the rest of the market to change to high-quality packaging. Right?
His competitors, his colleagues, etc.
He says the market has to develop for India to develop. There is no dearth of money. People can spend money. It's just about having the knack to take it or not take it. And for me, the follow-up story is in 3 months, this guy's entire product sold out. Diwali is gone. He says, "What do I do now?" He says, "Put Happy Holi." So this guy is actually running businesses based on festivals. And for me, if we can make this change to a very small shop which sells dry fruits, how many such opportunities exist in a 1.4 billion population? And with all the government push to self-sustainability, Atmanirbhar, I think our life can only get better. So for me, this story resonates to what digital printing can do.
And what's the, sorry, just curious, what is the media you use for this particular?
This is laminate.
Laminate, nice. Very good. And typical runs would be about 300 to 500.
So, no, 300 to 500 is really ultra short run, and that's more of sampling. But typically people get anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 pouches.
Nice.
Because that's something which they can take their risk on. Right? Earlier, the same guys who wanted a very high quality packaging couldn't do anything. Obviously, this trading is done in kgs by the big companies, right? The big gravure people, they say minimum 250 kgs, 100 kgs, whatever. So, for a small startup, they would buy packaging material which would last them for the next 3.5 years on an average, right? If it was conventional. Today, they're buying it on the go, just in time, and they don't. Most importantly, when you're a startup, you're always bootstrapped. Right?
That's true.
Telling a bootstrap company to invest on packaging material for 3.5 lakh rupees that you will use it over the next 3.5 years, I think that's crazy. You actually kill a lot of startups We, we believe in giving, life to the startups.
Of course,
And that
yeah.
for me is a bigger cause than, the whole commerce which is involved in
Yeah.
this.
No, and lots of other takeaways, no, short runs, inventory, stock maintenance, new product cycles. Yeah.
New product cycle, your product goes through,
Yeah.
people just keep adding
Yeah, yeah.
more stuff into this.
That's true.
And it could be a package which resonates with the seasonality
Yeah.
or the, festivals and
Or
stuff like that.
topicality, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Plus the SKUs. Look,
Yeah.
again, I always keep telling the story. The biggest brand of noodle, which has just one noodle,
Yes.
all you know,
Right.
they have 16 different
Yeah,
varieties of noodles.
Right,
Right? And they're being challenged by this small millet manufacturing company which is producing noodles, and there are thousands of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So we work with a lot of companies like Kalgudi, for example, which is
nice.
only interested in promoting homemade stuff, but high
Yeah.
claim healthy stuff. So
Nice.
they are the ones who are giving run for the money for the big brands. So
Yes.
for us, it's a win-win all the way. So
True, true. When you say HP works with them, what does it mean? You work with the customer's customer, or you're doing a sort of simultaneous kind of education, tech transfer? How does this?
Look, we are firm believers that a product like this can sell in the market only when there is a pull which is created. Who creates the pull?
Yep.
Right? You leave it in the hands of our brilliant printing industry people. They would never do that, because spending money in marketing is something which they are not used
Accustomed to, yeah.
I'll put it this way: they will buy hard metal.
Yes.
They'll buy BMW cars, but they would not invest
Yeah.
a few lakh rupees in marketing. So we realized that there's a gap in the market.
Yeah.
So what we're actually doing today is we call it evangelizing, right? So we go market by market, whether it's big brands, small brands, industries, cosmetic industries, startups, incubation centers.
Yep, yep.
Today we work very, very closely with, again, I'll actually give this example. We work with three big incubation centers.
Incubation centers, okay.
Incubation centers. The largest one being Atal Incubation Center, which has
Nice.
Close to about
Yep.
100,000 branches in the
Yep.
country. So
Yep.
we go there as professors of packaging. Let's call it that way. I mean, I just invented a title. We're basically experts for Atal Incubation Centers. Whoever is coming there, we teach them how they can do packaging and
Right.
what quantities, ultra short runs, print what you need, and all the values of, if you're doing coffee packaging, what is the guidelines.
Right.
And then we connect them with our users in the country. So,
Yep.
that's one of the big centers that we work with.
Nice.
We work with IIM Bangalore. They have a unit called the NSR cell.
Yeah, you
They've
mentioned.
successfully incubated 1,600 startups. About 30-40% of them are food-related startups.
Yep.
And I'll tell you the millet story. We work with the Millet Research Institute, ICMR in Hyderabad, whose the only thing which they do is popularize millet. Millet was announced the
Correct. Yep.
year of millets last
Correct.
year. So much of focus which is coming in.
Yep.
Helping people who can bring in millets, they do processing, they have everything there, and we also have a packaging center of excellence where they get to know all the different types of packaging which is
Sure,
available. We
sure.
make instant connections. So we believe in this. So every time we go to the brand and give them the education which is required for packaging, that all comes back to us. They
Nice.
go start demanding high quality packaging in the quantities that they want, in the most sustainable way that they want it.
And food grade.
And food grade. And they want it next week. And all of these actually happen. So for us, we believe in giving that education.
Yep.
Because somebody told me that a product can succeed or fail in the market. 25% of the reasons is attributed to how well it is packaged or not packaged. Right?
And timing, I guess, also.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
timing. It has to stand out of the shelf. If I go back and steal P&G's definition of moment of truth, P&G basically says, look, if a product on the shelf
Yeah.
should be able to attract the eyeballs of the supermarket, the guy who was running in the supermarket,
Sure,
walking in the
sure.
supermarket, he comes close, if he takes the package and holds it for a few seconds, that is what is moment of truth for them, right?
Yep,
So,
yep.
that's the power that we're talking for the product and the packaging,
Yep.
and that's what we keep evangelizing
Yep, yep.
to everybody. And if we can do it to an entrepreneur who's a startup,
Yep.
I think the job is made. And some of these become very successful startups to become a unicorn.
Yes.
They would incidentally go to the analog way because the quantity is high. We don't want all the food in the place, but
Yes, of course.
I think we'll help you get started.
Yep,
We
yep.
help in the the initial part of the product life cycle and the later part of the product cycle as well. But the whole fact of life is the product life cycle of every single thing that you can imagine in the world is dramatically reducing.
True,
right? I mean,
true.
Colgate gives this data. What used to be a 2.5-year product life cycle is now come down to 6 months cycle for them. Right? So
and many more flavors, many more brands, etc. True.
Charcoal paste. Do you believe it? I mean,
Absolutely, absolutely. I kind of like Professor of Packaging. I think I'll start calling you that now. Two questions really. One is this evangelizing, because I know you're very passionate about it, and I know that almost every forum that I am, you or somebody from one of your colleagues are there. So one is, I know it's exhausting because to do it constantly day in and day out and customize what you all do. And the second is, of course, this work which you're doing on the ground, which would probably be behind the scene and done in a very quiet way. Is there some way to sort of speeden up the process in terms of the learning curve being reduced? Because obviously this is one segment you're looking at, startups. I mean, obviously D2C is another space, and I mean, there would be the regional brands and there'll be the national brands, but not the, not the Haldirams and the Balajis, but probably the lesser known ones. So is there some way for our industry, I mean, again, just taking a cue from what you said earlier about our industry being a little shy about marketing, how do we create a group of people who can be probably as articulate and passionate as you and go out there and spread the good word, as it were?
Yeah, I wish I had an answer for this, but I'll tell you what.
No, but is there a template that you have?
Yeah, so we have a template.
Right.
We also believe in building the community, and we clearly
of course,
know that this whole evangelizing is a heavy lifting, and not one company can do it. In fact, I with my own fellow manufacturers, I keep telling them our success story, saying, look, we all have to go to the end market, educate, because your printers, our customers are not doing this job.
Sure.
But we believed in creating community. That's where the D-Scoop community has been very, very helpful. So we are happy to create templates, transfer the templates, brush shoulders with them, do that second hand, put the second hand for the lifting. We've been building the community. So our community has been participating today. If you look at the last 6 months, the community has actually participated in about 6 food-related exhibitions.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
When the opportunity comes, when inquiry comes, it gets distributed. But I think what's required is, how do I make 1,000 people do what I'm doing today?
Correct.
Right, and we continue to evolve there, continue to try and find ways. And I think some of the this conversation, definitely, if a brand is going to see it, they get to know the knowledge as well.
True.
So we're trying to work on marketing communications as well.
Sure.
Very long way to go.
True. Again, I'm going to sort of switch tracks because we've sort of laid a lot of focus on packaging and labels. But one of the other conversations which we had, I think it was a photo fair now, it's called CEIF, which was at the Geo BKC Center. And again, 3 interesting things that you had shared. One was, of course, the millions of photo albums that are sort of being produced. And you said that COVID in no way deterred the, there was no slowdown. And of course, you had backed it up with a lot of anecdotal evidence, etc. And the second thing which was kind of fascinating was the centers where a lot of this was, transpiring, which was the kind of new entrepreneurial energy and the madness which is over there and the kind of people who are driving that. That was again fascinating. And the third thing was, of course, just the product range of these photo albums, which was again an eye-opener. I mean, my belief was it is in the 3,500, 10K approximately, and you came up with, I think, around 20 to 25K for a single photo album. So again, these 3, if what more has been happening, and if there's anything further, because this was again a conversation 2 years ago. So post that, what's been happening in that space, and again, what's been your role in that?
Yeah. So for people who think that the millennials like sharing pictures on the web,
right?
Yes, they like sharing pictures on the web. But the photo albums, the wedding albums, have been bought traditionally by the parents.
That's true.
Not change,
That's true.
Right? And now, see, whether you like it or not, after the wedding is over, 1 week down the line, when relatives come, the first thing that they would ask you is, where is the album? Right? I mean, that is not change. I mean, culturally, we don't change as people. So for us, we are still growing in that industry. The rapid growth, the very high triple-digit growth is no longer there, but we're still growing in that industry. Number one. Number two, because of the lifestyle changes with the number of holidays, Indians in a few years, I believe strongly, would become the world travelers. Today, possibly it's China and Japanese, Chinese and the Japanese who kind of dominate as the tourists of the world. But India will not be very far away. I mean, we see it every single place. And if
That's
1%
true.
of Indian population.
We just, sorry, I'm butting because this is like interesting trivia. So we're just compiling something called the Power 100.
Yeah.
So there are two questions as trivia we've been asking these A-listers. What do you read? Which the response has been pretty poor. But where do you travel to? And the response is absolutely astounding because you would think that these are the sort of new generation Marco Polos. They've gone to remote things and done the most outlandish sort of activity, which is remarkable because most of these guys, as you're aware, are probably senior. So true, quite true. And they somehow found time to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, the seniors are okay. I manage a very young team.
Right.
Every time, we have this, 4 shutdowns in HP, and there is, once in a year you get 2 chances. Every time I ask these guys where they've traveled to, I start really getting that inferiority complex, saying,
Right.
"Look, when are you going to even go to those places, right?"
That's
so
true.
I think the lifestyle and the adventure, the way people perceive holidays
That's
is
true.
completely
That's
changed.
true.
And some of this, if 1% of this population prints 1% of the pictures that they've taken,
That's true.
that's going to result into possibly a few hundreds of presses that we will
Yeah,
sell.
yeah.
And again, this is hard work. This is mindset change which is required,
yeah.
right? Because pictures remain in your iClouds to anything, but some of them expires.
Yeah.
But what if you start printing copies? For
Yeah.
which you need companies like the Amazons to come in and say, look, we're going to make it easy for you.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, today
yeah.
the problem is it's not easy for people to get the printed pictures
Yeah,
at their home,
yeah.
which means web to print and the systems and the designs. Those are the complex elements.
Yeah.
But there are companies which have already started cracking in. About a dozen of our customers have got together. They're creating some stuff and trying to market it because this involves like what the e-commerce companies did,
Yep.
which is here is a 50 rupee note, sorry, here is an 100 rupee note, but I'm selling it at 50 rupees, which means,
Yep.
a ridiculous amount of discounts that I'll give. I'll burn my cash in marketing, and then I make a habitual change. Today,
Yep.
How much of stuff do you buy in Amazon or
Sure,
Flipkart,
sure,
right?
sure.
But that happened because somebody were willing to burn their marketing money, marketing dollars,
Yeah.
without seeing returns,
Yeah.
which has been the challenge. But there are more and more companies.
Yeah.
I think in the next few years, we are actively working with international big e-commerce photo companies to come into India.
Nice.
They all recognize the 1.4 billion population. They all recognize the increasing tourism of India and the double incomes of India and the overall things going
Yep,
up. But just
yep.
about a mindset change
Yeah,
which is required.
Also, wedding market, no? I mean, it's unbelievably huge. Yeah. Again, met one of these local trader merchants here, and he gave me a number which I don't even know if it's true because he said most of it is in black, which is 45 lakh crores for weddings alone, which is huge. And as you say, if you extrapolate the data 1% or whatever, which means that gets translated into photo albums, right? At some level, yeah. Again, also curious, you mentioned that the big guys are coming in, but what's also interesting is the kind of profile of people who are driving this industry in a very quiet way. Again, met a couple of people, I don't know if they had HP Indigo machines, but there was somebody from Ludhiana where I think a bunch of 7 of them came together, pooled their resources. I mean, buying your machines, to be brutally honest, is expensive. So they've done that, they've recovered their costs, they've added, I think, 2 more machines. Again, met a young man, not young, but youngish man from Hyderabad. He's got something in Vijayawada. Again, the same process where you actually have people who've started off with 10,000 rupees in their back pocket, and then they have. It's a true, in a way, rags to riches story, which is fabulous, isn't it? In a way, I mean.
No, absolutely. See, it goes back to the first question that you asked me.
Right.
What keeps you busy? Exactly this, right?
Right.
So today, give or take,
Yeah.
we've created 300 such businesses in the country, right? And these are companies which are used to a maximum investment of 30 lakhs in their life, right?
That's
the
true.
costliest of photo printing equipment that they've had.
Yeah.
So when you go tell them 3 crores, 5 crores, 10 crores, 12 crores,
It's daunting.
because
yeah.
I didn't know Hindi at the time. It's okay because Pagal Ye Kya was the standard answer that I was getting from North India.
Correct,
But
correct.
from there to those guys saying, look, I bought this because of what I did in Indigo.
Correct.
That gives you really a kick, right? And we've
Yeah.
done 300, over 300 of them. And the Ludhiana
When you say
example-
300, you mean 300 businesses. Okay,
300
right.
businesses,
Yeah.
ranging from the smallest town that you can imagine, like Rajahmundry, which is not even a big town, to
Correct.
Saranpur,
Of course.
which is making these
Yeah.
are investments of 15, 16 crores that
Yep.
people are making in this, and they wouldn't do it if they are not successful, and
Yep.
they're really doing it well, and the Ludhiana example that you gave is something which for me, I didn't believe that I could do it in life, and we could do it in life. fierce competitors, 8 of
Oh
them,
yes, pooling resources.
pulling together.
Yeah.
They've done it 6 times now. So
Really?
they've
Okay.
got the 6th Indigo,
Right.
on
Wow.
the latest one in the B2 as well. So they're the ones who are showing the way to the market,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you can transform a market, because see, they're again very 100% focused towards the wedding market.
That's
Because
true.
Wedding gives about 60 to 65% of the entire photo revenue. The whole photo industry, if you put
Yeah,
a value,
yeah.
65% of them comes because of the wedding. Right? So that's where it is. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's changing the demographics. People are making money. We've been able to transform labs that were almost extinct to doing extremely well. We've been
Yeah.
able to attract generation 2 in the business, which we're still not seeing so much in the print industry.
That's true.
Photo
That's
industry
true.
has been largely able to attract the next generation because of the money that they've
Yeah,
kept.
yeah.
So
And also there's a nice vibe to it, right? Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And again, just a quick follow-up question since we discussed Ludhiana. I mean, traditionally, and again, correct me because you have the better data, is that we looked at these 5 states as mainly driving the, the digital print segment. I mean, of course, Punjab, Kerala, and then of course the Western Territory and Karnataka. Is it still fair to say that these 5 of the the multiple states that we have continue to hold the majority stake in that? And what more can we do to ensure? One was of course the verticals you mentioned, the new demographics, the new mindsets, etc., government policy and all that. But in terms of opening up these 5 or 6 states to many more states, so that this whole journey can get multiplied quicker, faster, etc. Or is this analogy of the 6 states incorrect in a way?
I wouldn't say incorrect. Analogy of the state 10 years ago was correct.
Okay.
We started there.
That's true.
Kerala and Punjab were very
Dominant,
strong,
yeah,
dominant
yeah,
markets
yeah,
for us,
yeah.
because we realized why Kerala, because the cost is
Yeah, yeah.
prohibitively high compared
Yeah,
to the rest
yeah,
of the market.
yeah.
So that's where we started.
Yes.
But today, I would say there's an equal contribution. Today our fastest growing market, I mean, if I get to states, is UP. I mean, UP
Nice.
is one of the biggest markets that I handle.
Huge state.
Huge state.
Yeah.
Very closely related to the population. I mean,
Of
we
course.
just follow
Yep,
population.
yep.
Then we follow the government policies.
Of course.
Just to give you an example, the growth in UP, today UP government has a scheme or a policy called ODOP. It's called One District, One Product.
Okay.
Right? So there could be a particular district which could be manufacturing haldi, for example, and and they want to export. Okay, every district has to export a unique product. This is the government's promotion there, and there's sheer amount of population there. Everybody gets married now. Weddings have become even more flamboyant and documented very well.
Right, right.
So all of these are contributing to us. I think we will very closely follow the population of India.
Right.
That's where our growths are coming from. Yeah, we are today spread across unevenly in the market, except the northeastern states to a little bit, which is still remaining to be a terrain that it's difficult for many people.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Kashmir part of
course.
J&K,
Right,
which
right.
will incidentally change.
Yeah, yeah. So would it be fair to say at one point of time what Jagran did with their newspaper centers in every district of Uttar Pradesh? At that time, of course, Uttarakhand was a part of UP. But would it be fair to say you would have 38 fairly independent, autonomous, digital print units with or without HP Indigo machines?
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be very fair to say.
Yeah.
But we are getting there. We are
Correct,
getting there
correct.
with the number ourselves as Indigo.
Of course,
because Indigo
yeah,
is still in
yeah,
business.
yeah, yeah.
And there's also a lot of exports, by the way, which
Of
happens to
course.
Nepal across the border.
Yeah, no, SARC is there. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
yeah. So that's interesting. So we've covered, packaging labels. We've also covered digital photo album. If we can just quickly touch upon something that is very close to my heart, which is books. And I mean, what is HP? I've seen the page wide. I've of course seen it only on YouTube in terms of the demos, etc. But what is HP doing in terms of book publishing? I know you have a couple of huge installations with one of the largest players in the market. And what's happening in that space? Again, 2 reasons to ask this question. One is the turnaround that we've seen. And secondly, whatever conversation I've been having with my friends who are counterparts and production heads at the major publishing houses based in Delhi, Gurgaon, I see that again the print runs are anywhere between 500 to 5,000, and then of course automatically, inkjet comes into play, POD comes into play, short runs come into play, and the numbers seem to be adding up in favor of, digital. So again, if you can touch upon what's happening in that space, yeah.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
reference that you made of the largest player here,
Right.
incidentally is the largest volume producer on the inkjet presses
That's
for
true.
HP
Yep.
across the world.
Yep, yep,
The
yep.
single highest volume
Yep.
in the world
Yep.
in inkjet is produced by this person
Yep.
in India.
Correct.
And the volume seems to be constantly
Yep.
growing. Our challenges have been around the perception of the market. Inkjet is definitely going to be the way to
Future.
go forward
Yep.
in the
Yep.
book printing segment
Yep.
for sure, because everything which an inkjet needs exists in the book printing world, which is
Yep.
coverage. Coverage. That's the only thing which inkjet loves coverage.
Yep.
The
Yep.
smaller the coverage, inkjet is better.
That's true.
technology, right?
That's true.
That's also converse when it comes to high value applications.
Yep.
That's the reason why you've not seen so much of inkjet coming in the rest of the segments, but in book publishing.
Yep. Yep.
So for us, it takes time to show the value of the investment, which for us is in few times of the nearest competitors
Yeah,
there. But to the same level, the press that we launched in 2010 is designed in a very modular way where can be field upgradable. So
Nice.
the 2010 press just got upgraded with the latest and greatest in the year 23. Right? I mean, after 13 years, the life of the press continues to remain and continues to thrive and become better, which is possibly not the case with the rest of the technology. So they've kind of kept the investments level really low. So
Sure.
For people to get this value, they wouldn't get it. How many ever times I say, it takes time. So we are in the journey of doing it, but we believe book printing will take off in a very big way as far as digital is concerned.
Sure, sure.
Because I don't think there is any logic. Internationally, we do this internationally.
Of course.
At some point in time, Amazon or through its Lightning source used to have like 40 Indigo presses. Forget even inkjet.
True.
Indigos are expensive from a cost of production perspective compared to inkjet. They used to have 40 presses. Everything was on demand. Right? Everything was on demand. For us, I think our story, if I had to give you one punchline there in the book publishing segment, I call it bringing humanity back to print. Because 99% of the books that ever got published in the world is actually out of print. That's what
true.
at least Google Mata tells.
That's true.
99% of the books. So now with digital, what all can you do? You can actually bring every book back to life. That's what the big companies here are doing. That's what companies across the world are doing. And I see a massive optimism in terms of book printing and digital printing. And this will become a dominant. I mean, today from what we are like, under 3% in India, we are looking at a double digit in the next, few years, I would say.
True.
Next 5 years, we are looking at a double digit percentage of share on the book printing segment. Some of the sub-segments there, like STM, Scientific Techniques Publishing, is moving more rapidly. And that will happen instantly to the book printing world. So we are very optimistic about this.
What seems to be, I mean, I've been having some conversations, not as detailed as probably you and your team are, but I think for me, the three things that come are the three C's. One is, of course, CapEx, which seems to be a concern in India, I'm talking about, obviously. C seems to be C for China, and I don't want to get into this nationalism debate, but that is a sort of concern that, you can purchase a 2 CR machine with, probably not with all the bells and whistles, but that's good enough to go, as a couple of installations have indicated. And third is, of course, the cost of running, the OPEX. So again, because again, we would have some, people from the book space watching our interview. So if you can address these three things, one is CapEx. I mean, a lot of people feel that with the kind of equipment that you have, that you're basically working for the banks. So if you can sort of, dispel that.
So on the capex part, the explanation that I gave is these are presses which are built for
durable.
Durability. These are, I mean, just gave you an example that the last 12-year-old press got upgraded to the latest and greatest today, which means it's got another few years of life cycle. So this is one value that we would ask the book publisher to look at when you're just taking the capex element compared to the manufacturers from other manufacturers or the Chinese manufacturers.
That's true.
Because there you typically have to replace it in 2 to 3 years time,
Yep.
they all make their living. Everybody makes their living by
Sure.
selling presses
Yes.
and inks.
Yes.
And when you don't spend so much of R&D money there in terms of building a modular structure,
Right.
which means, look, we are not interested in shipping presses after presses.
Yep.
We're interested in getting you the pages after pages. So
That's
it's
true.
a very different viewpoint that we have. That's why, even if you look at this to the extrapolated industrial business from
Yes.
inkjet, our philosophy has been build a structure, a platform that can last for a much, much longer time. So the actual ratio, like almost 3x, whether it is in Indigo or in the inkjet space, we last 3x more
Right.
than anybody else. So,
Sure.
and take it in relative terms with capex, I think the game will be clear.
Nice.
On the consumable part, I think more or less everybody plays in the same space. Sometimes we are better, sometimes they are better, but that kind of remains no problem for a lot of people. But yes, you are absolutely right. Capex seems to be a problem, but if you really look at the longer durability, a 3x durability, I would say,
Right.
things will start falling in place.
Yeah.
And it takes time. And we're obviously not looking at having a 2 crore machine
Of course,
which
yeah,
Chinese is selling
yeah,
today
yeah.
over 50 people. We're now still focused on the high value, high volume users, which has been the game.
No, and some
It
of
will
the
keep changing.
and some of the numbers are staggering with the book printers. I mean, even if you look at the top 100, and very, very good in terms of what they're doing with their business. Just curious to know, what heads do you use for your inkjet? I mean,
Okay, I'll have to take it off.
Okay, fair enough.
It's
Yeah.
basically HP set.
Okay,
that much I know.
okay, all right.
By the way, instantly, we are one of the largest manufacturers of inkjet in the world.
Yes, I know.
Because inkjet, whether it is home printer
Right.
or a book printing
Yes, yes,
device, it's all
yes.
the same, right? So
Correct.
we almost ship a significant portion of the heads, print heads,
Yes.
which is the basis of inkjet.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
No,
supplied by HP.
yeah.
We use our own heads.
Correct,
HP is a
correct.
large
Yeah. No, so
manufacturer of
that's
heads,
something
yeah.
I've always been curious to know about. Yeah. I mean, we seem to have the big elephant in the room, which we have not yet discussed, which is Drupa. We need to talk about that, and that's what we are here for. So, what I've been told, or what I've seen, is 8 new Indigo presses. I mean, this is what Noel Dicuna reported to us from Indianapolis, where the meet happened. So, what are these 8? And I won't sort of put pressure on you by saying discuss and talk all the 8, but of the 8, which are the ones which would be most relevant for Indian visitors who are traveling to Drupa? Our numbers suggest that approximately 10 to 15,000 eager beaver print technologists are going to be there at Dusseldorf. So, which ones should they be looking out for?
Okay, so you asked me to pick which of my
Pick
babies
your
are-
favorites, yeah.
pick my favorite baby, right?
Yeah,
Which is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a perspective of this 8 new, right?
Right.
This 8 new which we're talking about is better in terms of let's say from quality, productivity, speeds of an existing device which is already successful in India.
That's true.
Right? For example, the 18K which is coming is a better version of the 15K, which is one of the most successful.
Yeah.
Which is predecessor was called the 12K, which is also very popular. So
Yeah.
we have 30 of these devices, which
Yeah.
is going to become better and faster, more automation and
Right,
stuff. So
right.
for me, I see a natural extension there. 18K, which is the flagship product here in the photo industry and
Yes.
in the commercial print industry. That's something to watch out for. The 100K and the 120K,
Yep.
that's again you're introducing a few newer stuff in
Yep.
terms of productivity and cost reduction and stuff. That
Yeah.
the 120K,
Yeah.
I think that's going to make a big difference to the commercial print industry today, which has always been wanting for always been looking for a solution in this space
Yeah.
in terms of speed, because
Yeah.
sometimes when I go talk about the speed, they just get massive pleasure to tell their offset machine is
Yeah. Yeah.
10,000 sheets an hour.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
guys, what do you get out of it, right?
Correct.
But if that is your problem, we have a solution for that. So
Right,
our speeds are
right,
going up
right.
significantly. One of the biggest attractions is going to be the 200K,
Yeah.
which is in the flexible packaging
Yep,
market,
yep.
which is successfully built on the 25K platform, which is going to be 30% faster, slightly cheaper.
This is
and
B2,
stuff.
right?
These are B1 presses.
These are B1, sorry, yeah.
Packaging
Yeah,
roll
yeah,
presses.
yeah. Roll.
The 100K and the 18K are the sheet fed B2.
B2, yeah,
sheet
yeah,
fed B2.
yeah.
So these 3 are extremely attractive. And we're also going to have the LEPX, which is the V12 that we're going to talk about, which
Sure.
for me is revolutionary. That's going to changed. I would rather take a. I would challenge people, right? You know, the last big innovation in terms of technology that you saw. Okay, there was Indigo some time back, and there was inkjet. Inkjet has been, the last three Drupas. I don't know why
Correct.
guys are.
Is the inkjet Drupa?
Every time people say this, right?
Right,
That was the
right.
last innovation that you saw.
Got it.
That was 10 years ago. But LEPX for me is a groundbreaking innovation.
Okay.
In a simple term, I'll tell you what offset presses used to do before.
Yep.
With 4 units of presses, we were doing it with 1 unit. Which we made this bid as 1, and we were thinking 4. But we said, guys, this is not enough. Now let's also have 4 stations, right? There are 4 engines there now, or 6 engines which we've got, right? Now 6 into whatever speeds we can get to. We're talking about 120 meters a minute today, right? With whatever speed, which is the speed of any flexo device that you can imagine, right?
Sure.
But for me, that's also not important. But the possibilities the 6-engine system is going to bring into the world of digital is going to be phenomenal in terms of speeds. Today we have choices of 6 colors, but that can always get added, right? You can reduce, add in terms of the whole platform or the architecture that you've got.
Right.
So for me, the LEPS architecture is what's fascinating. For me, that I think is a grown. I can be very biased because I work for HP.
Of course.
But
But just
it's
being a
groundbreaking
devil's
innovation.
advocate, I mean, the HP Indigo engine has been something that has always been. I mean, it's like the iPhone, right? In a way, it's a revolution or a change that you introduced, and it's been something like go-to and identified. Departing from that, number one. Number two is how does this, in a way, be detrimental to the footprint? Won't it occupy more space and all those things? Again, things which work in favor traditionally and substrate. Can I still go with whatever 2,000, 2,500 different substrates if you can? Yeah.
100%. See, okay, so the LEPX, what does that X stand for? Right?
Right.
I mean, a lot of people challenge this.
Yeah.
I still don't know the exact meaning, but
Right.
some people say it is extreme. Some people
okay.
say it is, extraordinary. I mean, we can give different
Right,
connotations. But
right.
what we've done is we've taken the successful LEP technology. We've not changed the technology per se. We've
Okay.
still remained to the core of LEP technology, which is plate, blanket, rubber blanket. I would insist rubber blanket because people connect it with a different meaning.
Yeah.
So rubber blankets and liquid inks, right?
Yeah.
We've got exactly the same, but just we've added 6 more units, right? Which is what the style of offset is, right?
Sure.
So it's a core is the LEP technology, but we've given the power of adding systems,
Sure.
which can be a game changer in our industry
Right,
because
right.
I think what we used to play this very polite. We are a complementing technology. I think is going to change now,
Yeah.
sir,
Yeah.
because I think the LEPX is going to make Indigo first approach. When I say Indigo first, there'll be an Indigo,
Sure.
maybe a V12 and a 6K, and then there'll be Flexo if need be, right?
Sure,
So we
sure.
never competed
Yeah.
with Flexo. We were always saying, look, we will
Right,
take the
right.
short runs.
Yeah.
But now V12 is no longer, we will take the short runs.
Yeah.
We will be mainstream, and that will instantly happen. I mean, it's just a time difference. It is already happening in few Western worlds.
Yeah.
Maybe in India it is still, few months or
Yeah.
few years away, if I were pessimistic.
Yeah.
But we're now playing the game of mainstream.
Yeah.
That is what LEPX is for me.
Nice.
Right?
So this is just again to make it clear for our viewers, is a narrow web label possibility of being a good narrow web label press.
Yes.
Yeah.
Today. But
Subsequently,
once you got this architecture of
Right.
6 engines, now today I'm in the narrow web, but
Yeah.
tomorrow I can go in the wide web
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it's no longer complex. It's
Correct.
the foundation is right.
Yeah,
And we
makes
can
sense, makes sense.
grow vertically. We can grow horizontally.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the HP rationale? Because again, a lot of people are asking because, again, when you joined about 2 decades ago, it was, as you mentioned, supplementary something. And now suddenly it's interesting to see that with the 200K, you are in a way in the B1 space, in a way taken over the offset segment. I mean, it's a direct challenge to the big boys, so to speak. And then, of course, in the narrow web label space where you have 16 to 18 of these players who are, manufacturing these machines. So suddenly you are there as a mainstream press operator offering the entire range. correct? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that'll be fair to say.
Yeah.
So look again.
But has there been a rethink within the board and, I mean, within the R&D team and the, the manufacturing team, etc., that, this rebooting of HP in a sense?
No, I think we set our targets long ago, and we're staying on course to get
To
there.
achieve that, yeah.
To achieve that.
Makes sense.
HP is a company which spends a significant amount of
Yeah,
money
yeah.
in R&D. Some our R&D budget. I'm sorry, I have to do a bit of sales, but our R&D investments is equal to some of the company's revenue in the printing space, right?
That's true.
$250 million is what we've invested in R&D. A significant portion comes to industrial prints, which is the growth engine for HP.
Nice.
And we've been staying on course.
Yeah.
Now, getting to the
rational part of it.
The rationale behind everything. See, I actually, somebody asked me, look, there are going to be a lot of B2 announcements in the market in Drupa 2024.
Yeah.
What do you feel? I said, look, I love it. I'm actually loving it because all this while, fighting alone on the digital space for B2 market,
right.
Today there are going to be 5 more people who are going to go say B2, and I have.
It's a pack now.
Yeah, it's a pack, and I will get my share anyways.
Right,
and,
of course.
So we have 30 presses before the B2 could come in for other companies. So we'll have our own space.
Yeah.
So we're very big believers that more competition is going to help us in this space, and we have our space carved out there in terms of quality, productivity, and built to last. Built to last, I think, is the number one value proposition that we've always given our customers.
Yeah. What's been the stumbling block? I mean, since you mentioned that the other players are there, but I mean, there have been machines I've been like looking at. The jet press is something that from Fuji, which I think I've been quite impressed when I've seen it on other sides. Prosper, some of the engines, the old legacy engines, etc. And it just made sort of common sense that, in a few months, years, what have you, you will find a raft of these machines in India. And yet one finds that the numbers staggering elsewhere, including in non-developed properties, nation states. And yet in India, it somehow has not got translated. What is this? A shift from technology regimes that, traditionally our people take some time to get into, or what is it? Habits?
Sir, it will be a combination of both, but I always blame it. I blame all life opportunities that I got is because of the population that we are.
Okay.
And all opportunities that I lost in my life is also because of the population that we are, right? Because, see, simply put it, today, how much is the press minder's salary in a city like Bangalore or Bombay? You would know better, right?
Yeah.
That in comparison to labor costs outside is, it's an insignificant portion. But again, what I'm saying is a little outdated information. But in the last 3 years, the transformation that people are going through in the print industry in terms of salary is phenomenally high. Do you know, I was reading this and I was talking to a few people around COPA, and we meet a lot of associations.
Of course,
I believe the number one competitor for a print service provider today, an offset printer today, in terms of people, can you guess? I mean, I have a guess, and I will say this, it can be atrocious to you.
Yeah, but
the
Zomato delivery guy.
Zomato and Swiggy, because the Zomato's partner today makes between $60,000 in a city like Bangalore.
Correct.
And here you are paying a press minder of $25,000 and asking him to work in
and shoulder all responsibilities. Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I think that's going to redefine the world in a lot of different ways. Connected to the labor, for me, I saw something which is brilliant. We'll talk about the sustainability later, but for me, digital printing, when I said is bringing humanity back, it's actually bringing diversity back. One of our flexible packaging converter, who is based in Baroda, he's employed 2 women operators.
Nice.
On the press, which is, have you imagined, have you heard about women operators operating gravure cylinders? You can never ever see it.
Yes.
But today, those 2 ladies are operating the Indigo press and producing these beautiful pouches. For me, this is like, these are things which give us kick. Path-breaking, and it could revolutionize everything in the market, right? So, I mean, again, connected to this, going back to the question that you asked, I think labor cost has been a significant portion.
Right.
And I have no problem, because this is a record, people are going to see it.
Sure.
Look, I think this industry needs to spend money in advancing what they have, instead of just one-dimensional approach of how do I reduce my cost. So, you go throw a challenge to a printer. the only thing which you want to do is how do I reduce costs?
Yeah, yeah,
How do I push the paper guys? How do I get the imported equipment which was used 10 years back in
yeah,
Germany?
yeah.
Look, I think in this industry cannot evolve if it doesn't think about progressing further. And I ask this question to every single printer, just to. We are in a podcast. I can't use. I'll have to choose the words. Just to let him think.
You're
I
right.
ask him, okay, which is the number one segment that you've been catering to? He will say any segment.
Right.
What is the cost of this particular product?
Yeah, yeah.
10 years ago. I basically in South India I say,
Yeah.
what was the cost of Italy 10 years
Right.
back? What's the cost of Italy now?
True.
It could apply to every single product.
Yes.
Right from a haircut to Italy that you have, product costs have changed.
Yes.
What is the cost of printing? Has it changed like the way tea prices
Yep.
have changed?
Yeah.
The answer is no. We are same or we are going down.
Yeah.
And we are participating in a reverse auction.
Correct.
Look, guys,
Right.
I mean, the industry has to change.
Yeah, yeah.
There are, I know of good companies here who are doing R&D investments to find out how safe they can do food packaging
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Those are things that the industry needs to do.
Correct,
For
correct.
which you need, you need some thought process.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need fresh blood to come in.
True.
I think it takes time.
Of course, yeah.
Because of that, it becomes a challenge.
yeah.
But there are people, wherever we're selling, those are companies which are thinking that way. So we're
That's
happy
true.
with that.
That's true. That-
So
Yeah. So one of the leaders in the industry shared something quite interesting with us. He says we unfortunately are very narrow-minded in our approach, but we are very broad-minded in terms of what we offer. And somewhere that mismatch. But I think, as you're saying, it sort of addresses. So, Durai, what I'm going to do, because I have a few questions that have come in from people who are traveling to Drupa. So very specifically, I know you have the largest stall at the show. So I'll just ask a couple of very quick questions about what the Indian visitor to Drupa is sort of seeking in. One is about the Print OS production beat support system. So it's a new tool which HP has announced, and it obviously is like a kind of a operating brain cell to the entire factory floor. Two questions really around this. One is it going to be available for India? And if yes, who are the kind of people who should be investing in it?
yeah, so first of all, I think very first question.
Sure.
We don't have the biggest hall, we have a hall. Okay,
Right.
Number one. Number two, all our product launches
Right.
are concurrent across the world. So
Okay.
there's nothing that
Right.
an Indian or Asian market will be deprived of.
Right.
And everything which we're talking around the Print OS is bringing in so much of more automation and productivity to the
Yeah.
existing users.
Yeah.
And everybody, my guess says that every product user would be interested in getting into the entire PrintOS related workflow solutions, which is going to be a big, massive change to the way they're doing business. There are 2-3 things that I will say in the same space of PrintOS when
Sure.
people talk about so much of automation that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Our company, when somebody came and asked me, what is that you're going to see differently in this Drupa? HP, by being the virtue of the number one IT company in the world, forget
Of course,
printing,
yeah,
IT company in the world, we have this huge access to AI, ML, machine learning and stuff.
Yep,
We've been implementing this for a long time, but in bits and pieces. But now you're going to see more and more stuff. Like,
Yep.
I'll give you an example. 2 examples I'll give you. One, on the PrintOS part, which you directly asked me, I think SiteFlow is going to be a game changer in terms of people taking jobs online.
Yeah.
Today, we have companies which are doing 10,000 jobs a day, which means it has to be seamless without any interventions.
Sure.
Where jobs taken on the web, processed,
Yeah.
PDF, and sent across, including to the command to the finishing unit, right? So we have SiteFlow, which has started managing beautifully well the whole
Nice.
architecture. That's one big area. On the AI and the ML side, I think the sheer capabilities of HP today tells or gets a lot of data from the press saying if the part is going to fail because of wear and tear in a press in Bombay, I would possibly know it 2 days in advance.
Nice.
And I would have shipped the part, which is at your doorstep, and a failure happens, engineer comes and changes.
Yeah. So preemptive. Very nice.
Very,
nice.
very preemptive, which is going to change the uptime of the machines
Nice.
phenomenally higher.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
that's all going to make a difference.
Right. The second question, I know you've touched upon it, is the 120K. So again, I think there were 2 questions. Is it sort of ideal for commercial print or packaging? And is it 6,000 sheets for all types of substrates?
Yeah. So when Indigo says speed of the press,
Right.
it is for every substrate that you can imagine, because
Right.
it's the whole architecture that we have.
Sure.
We're not going to change the heating process. It's a rubber blanket which is going to work on. So
Right.
speed remains the same
Right.
between all the medias.
Nice.
It is primarily targeted towards the commercial print industry. These are typically 5-color presses built for productivity. There are auto changing ink units and stuff like that.
Nice.
Works in extremely high quality that Indigo is known for,
Yeah.
and the speeds that we were not doing before. And with newer systems like reduction of a little bit of consumption of the inks, using the 3-color mode.
Nice. So
basically
optimization. Yeah.
Optimization.
Nice.
You might know this from your home printer. There's something called as an eco mode.
Yeah,
There,
yeah.
we're going to bring in the eco mode and stuff like
For
that
the
into
production. Oh,
production.
nice, nice. And do I have to do anything for finishing? I mean, do I have to add something, or if I want to do with the 120K? I mean,
So we all our machines follow the DFA, which is
DFA,
the DFA technology, which is I
Sure.
can talk to any device tomorrow.
Right.
But in Indian environment, even in the Western environment, finishing we've seen is not online.
Right.
Most of the time it's offline.
Yeah. And I think there was one more question about the HP page wide, I think it's the 2200 if I'm not mistaken. And is that the entry level, or are there other models which are available in the page wide section which would be ideal for India, and would they be showing at Drupa?
Yeah, no, what we are showing in Drupa is only one press, which is
Okay.
2200.
Okay.
But there are other products, the
Right.
250, which is one of
Sure.
the successful models,
Right.
continue to remain there. And we also have the higher ends in the T400
Of course,
series.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think the fit for India would be the 2200 or the 250. I
Right,
think.
right. And again, one final question. Are all these presses to a large extent certified for substrates? And I mean, because there was a claim, I think, 2000 plus certified substrates which can be run on the machine, different types of media, etc. So does that apply for only certain products in the portfolio, or across the? I mean,
if you
obviously the page wide would be out of that.
Page wide is different.
Yeah.
Rest of it is,
Sure.
it's all the Indigo
De
technology.
facto, yeah,
De
yeah.
facto, 2000
Right.
different medias.
Right.
The roll format, we basically say as long as anything is in a roll form, we print it, but that's not, that's a
Nice,
different thing.
nice,
But today
yeah.
we are now getting into textile transfer. That's one of
Oh,
the big
yes,
business which is
that's
growing
big,
in
yeah,
India,
yeah.
which is not an approved substrate in the 2000 list that you were talking about. But, as we progress, we keep approving. Like
Yeah.
2000 is now about 3,200 different
Okay,
medias.
okay.
So we've progressed quite
course,
a bit.
of course.
We progressed over 50%, and we
Right.
continue to evolve.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
again, here, I think it's a belief,
Yeah.
because Indigos are higher in cost.
Of course,
I
yeah.
also need to create higher value for the customers.
Sure,
And every time
sure.
a new media comes in,
Yeah.
it brings in more money to
Right,
the print service
right,
provider.
right,
So that's the
right.
basic premises that we believe in.
Yeah, yeah. And it does fabric printing also with the same ink technology, or yeah, same?
Everything
Okay.
is the same.
Okay, so I don't have to tweak the system, right?
No.
And I think the final question was about autonomous mobile robot system, which will be showcased at Drupa, is interesting. Is this a model for India, and where should the PSPs begin when one talks about automation? I think this is the final one.
Yeah. Okay. So I think sometimes people, I think the robotic thing really is
Yeah,
creating the
because I
past.
think it's being used as a pronoun, not as a verb, right? Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah. See, look, I think that applies. The whole idea is that our presses are able to talk to unloading of the printed pallets, right? I mean,
Right.
that's the whole concept behind this. But
Right.
will it work in India tomorrow? No, India may not need this tomorrow.
That's true.
Because
That's
the
true.
cost which is associated with
yeah.
it. But look, I go back to the automation, because everything is about automation, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
This is one small last mile automation that we're doing. But
Yes.
I think I will focus on automation in the front, which
Yeah.
is on the pre-press or the job collection side.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's where HP is putting a lot of focus in, and
Yeah.
with the site flow.
Sure.
We're also doing something with ESCO,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
which is on the brand side. If a campaign of Coca-Cola happens in, for example, in Europe,
Yep.
how do I kind of plug and play in
Yep.
India?
Nice.
Don't reinvent the wheel. So we're working with ESCO, the world leader, with their web center,
Yep.
to make it so easy for the brand and for the PSP to
Nice.
adopt campaigns which are happening worldwide.
Nice.
And this for me is massive automation, because this is where a lot of people will fumble in terms of taking large projects.
Yeah.
Site flow, as I said, is going
Yeah,
to be a big
yeah,
game changer.
yeah.
Everything around the
Yeah.
printers, workflow, the marketplace. Again,
Yeah.
our philosophy has been slightly different. Sometimes we believe you've seen a lot of manufacturers wanting to do, I have the software, I have the software, I have the software, you buy all from me. I think no, we have a very, this
Clear
is where we're
mandate,
not
yeah.
the iPhone which you're talking about, we are Android in this part,
Right.
which is leaving, you know, if you're an expert in
Right.
doing some
Yeah.
part of automation and
Right.
software, please do it, and then we have the marketplace, right, which
Yeah,
is, you know, people come in and put in, and, you know, as a customer, you get a best access to
Yep.
a very
Yep.
open architecture when it
Yep.
comes to automation in the pre-press side.
True, true.
And also in the
I think
finishing
also
side.
what happens in our industry is when we use words like robotic and automation, we tend to look at the physical attributes of it. I mean, and I think COVID taught us that the pre-press part of it was so fundamental to our industry, and how a whole lot of people manage with virtual proofing, you know, color corrections offline, etc. So that was, I think, fantastic. I have one final question about Drupa. So where will be the big HP party, and when can, I mean, what is the date, etc.? Because I think everybody looks forward to that. So
Okay, so for us, parties are every day. So we have, you know, at least 3-4 VIP
correct
dinners
sessions, yeah,
worldwide,
yeah,
Asia
yeah,
Pacific. June 1st is India Day. We're
correct.
going to have Indian Kana
Right,
for
right.
people who will be. I think 4 days is not good enough. Usually it happens after 7 days.
That's
People
true.
want to. I mean, if
Taste,
you're
yeah.
South Indian, you're dying for a sambar or
Right.
a paratha.
Correct.
For the North Indians, we're going to
Right.
have Indian food in our on the
Menu, yeah, at
India
the
Day,
stall,
as we
yeah.
call it, on the June
Lovely,
1st.
yeah.
But parties at least 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
I I get my marketing manager to send all this so that, you know, it
Right.
would help people.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
And I know you're there, and the entire team will be there. So where can we find you? And are you sort of available on all days of the show? And again, what is your message, final message for the visitors to your stall from, what is it, 27th of May? No, 28th of May to 7th of June. Yes.
7th of June.
Yeah.
So first of all, we'll be extremely delighted to host you in Germany.
Right.
Our team is
Right.
going to be there throughout,
Yep.
from day one to day last.
Right.
And, you know, see, again, there are different peoples that we're hosting, people who are in active conversations.
Of course.
I think what's important is for you, even if you were not buying an Indigo press,
Of course, yeah.
you have no plans to buy it in the next
Yep.
3 years.
Yep.
I'll still ask you to come up to us. We will be the happiest people with the no obligation demos that we could show you.
Nice.
Because I think what's important is to get to know where the industry is going.
That's true.
In fact, we have now all the registrations are closed. As part of the Drupa package, we are at least doing 6 site visits
Nice.
in Europe. So these are very successful printing companies in Europe.
Yeah.
We're taking people from India to show them how things are done.
Nice.
And you can
Yeah,
best
yeah.
learn from your peers.
Huge
Than
learning.
the
yeah.
manufacturer. Because we
Absolutely.
are going to be one-sided.
Right,
You
right.
get that.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing that as well. We will be very happy to share. The entire India team is going to be there all through the Drupa. We'll also have customers who are going to be in our booth and talking to people.
Nice, nice.
And be it the press, be it the software, be it, you know, brand promotion, be it the
Right.
community that I was talking about.
Of course.
You will see every single element. HP puts a lot of importance to the applications than the presses.
Of course. So thank you very much, Durai sir. Thank you for this conversation. Always a pleasure. Lots to learn. And I hope you have a wonderful, successful Drupa. And henceforth, I now call you Professor of Packaging, but I'll also add Professor of Packaging and Publishing, just to make my own sort of soul feel good. So thank you. And please subscribe to this channel so that more and more people benefit. Thank you.